For this design, I will be importing a drawing from my sketchbook. And I'm going to bring it straight into the designer. Before starting, I'm going to shrink the design a bit by dragging the corners to resize. I'm going to set my line work to 0.02. If you're not sure where to start, this is a good baseline width for most projects. I'm going to use the circle tool as well to create a solid base to work within. My sketch wasn't a perfect circle, so I'm just going to take a moment to manipulate it to better fit into the circle. And I'll also turn the opacity down so that you can see the line work better over top of it. With the circle drawn, I'll begin working on the koi fish. I'm going to primarily use the curve tool for this design. I prefer to work with larger shapes and then move on to small details, so I'll outline the overall body of the fish. To start, to use the curve tool, you can left click along a path and then right click to end the line. To adjust any points, I'll use the select and move tool often today. To smooth out the curve, I'll also use the add and delete point tool to remove any extra points. Next, I'm going to add the fins onto the side of the koi. I'll use the zoom tools to get in closer to draw this part of the design. Anytime you see me zooming in and out, I'm using the plus and minus keys on my keyboard as shortcuts. This is handy to get in closer and work on different areas of the design. Let's go over to the larger fin here. While I like the thinner lines in the sketch, I think for the final I may make the inner pieces larger so there's less glass cuts to make. I think 3 small glass pieces is the most I want for this. Next, let's trace the ventral fin. For this smaller fin, I think 2 glass pieces will be enough, so I'll just split it down the middle. I may also make the curve a little more dramatic with the select and move tool. Now we can use the curve tool to go over the back fin, creating outlines once again. And then after the outlines are in place, I'll add a middle dividing smaller line. Okay, I think I'm satisfied with these fins, so I'm going to move on to the tail next. For this piece, the goal was flowing organic lines, so I'm going to try to keep some of the movement from the original sketch in the traced version. Similar to the fins, I'm going to make the tail pieces a little thicker than the sketch, only dividing it into around 3 pieces, but just trying to maintain the overall silhouette that I had in the sketch. Remember to take your time when you're working on any design and simply adjust the lines as you move along. Okay, perfect. I think I'm going to begin the fish's face now. I'm going to use the arc tool to create a nice rounded eye. This tool creates 3 points that are easy to adjust and create a really nice round shape for something like an eye. With the eye in place, I'm going to use the curve tool again. for the whiskers or barbell that the koi used to taste. I think the barbell in the original sketch was a bit too thin, so in the traced version I'm going to change the shape a bit here. For this bit of the design, it's easier to work in a more zoomed in fashion. All right, let's add the dorsal fin next. Since we're looking down on the fish, it won't be too wide since it'll be a little bit in perspective. For areas like this on the fish, I'm just going to zoom in and out. I also want to continue this line to where the glass piece for the face will end. Once again, I'm going to add some segments in the dorsal fin just to make the glass cutting later easier. Next, I'm thinking of adding some markings. Koi often have some splotches of color, and I really liked what I'd done in the sketch, although I may change the shape slightly. This way I think it will add interest and also create some nice organic flowing shapes. I'll start with one that wraps around the head and attaches to that line that we made with the dorsal fin. And I'm going to add another that sort of wraps around the eye and the nose, the front part of the face. I'm also going to add 2 to the body. In the sketch I'd done 1, but I think I may add 2 just to break it up a little bit more. And then I'll add another on the other side. I'm happy with how the koi fish is looking, so I'm going to take a moment now to divide the remaining space with some other organic looking lines. I'm going to use the pre-existing lines that I made with the fish and continue them so they reach the sides of the circle. I think this sort of mimics water waves, and it's also easier later for when you're cutting the glass pieces, they're not just massive pieces of glass. I am tracing some of the lines that I made with the sketch, but I'm also sort of adding any in areas that I think need a little bit more movement. I think at this point it's nice to remove the sketch to just sort of see the final design, and if there's any lines like the one I just removed that I think I want to redo. Sometimes it's easier to see the design when the sketch isn't underneath it. This pattern was a request from a user for a stained glass koi fish that demonstrated tail movement. If you ever have a request for the design library, please don't hesitate to email us at help@rapidresizer.com. We're always looking for more ideas to expand the design library. All right, I think I'm ready to save this design now. That is all for this recording, but be sure to check out the rest of our channel for other projects and tips. We're always uploading new videos every week.